There is a moment that decides who owns the room. It is not when someone speaks. It is when someone refuses to. Most people believe influence belongs to the person with the strongest argument. They spend years sharpening their logic, collecting evidence, practicing the perfect response. Then one accusation arrives, one insult, one public challenge, and everything they built collapses in seconds. Because the world is not measuring the quality of your explanation. It is measuring your emotional dependence on being believed. The instant you rush to correct someone's opinion of you, you quietly admit they have the authority to define you. That is the trap almost everyone walks into without realizing it. You think you are protecting your reputation. In reality, you are surrendering it. Every unnecessary explanation tells people exactly where your fear lives. Every justification becomes a map leading directly to your insecurities. And predators always follow maps. They are not hunting facts. They are hunting reactions. The reaction is the prize. The words are only bait. This is why the most dangerous people often appear strangely calm when challenged. They understand something the average person never learns. Control is not won by speaking louder. It is won by deciding which game deserves your participation. Niccolo Machiavelli observed rulers who survived conspiracies, betrayals, humiliation, and political storms without wasting energy convincing enemies to understand them. Their greatest weapon was never persuasion. It was psychological independence. Today you will discover why the urge to explain yourself has nothing to do with truth and everything to do with hidden dependence. You will see how silence changes the balance of power before a single sentence is spoken. You will learn why certainty intimidates louder than confidence, and by the end, you may begin questioning every conversation you've ever tried to win. Because perhaps the greatest victory was the one you never needed to defend.
Number 1. The invisible contract you never agreed to. Every unnecessary explanation begins long before the conversation itself. It begins with an invisible contract hidden inside your mind. The contract says other people have the right to approve your identity. Most never notice they signed it. A manager questions your decision. You immediately produce reasons. A stranger criticizes your opinion online. You type 3 paragraphs defending yourself. Your partner misunderstands one sentence. Suddenly, you become your own lawyer. None of this feels strange, because society rewards justification from childhood. Children explain to avoid punishment. Teenagers explain to avoid rejection. Adults continue explaining because the habit quietly becomes personality. The problem is simple. Adults are no longer standing before parents. Yet their nervous system still behaves as though every disagreement decides survival. That is why criticism feels physically painful. Your heart races, your breathing changes, your thoughts become frantic, your body believes acceptance equals safety. But in competitive environments, this instinct becomes a liability. Watch successful negotiators. Watch experienced CEOs during hostile interviews. Watch elite attorneys when opposing counsel attacks their credibility. They rarely rush to rescue their image. They let pressure breathe. They understand that whoever reacts first usually accepts the weaker position. Explaining too quickly tells everyone something valuable. It says your confidence depends on immediate validation. That dependence becomes leverage. Imagine 2 founders pitching investors. One spends 10 minutes defending every criticism before it is fully asked. The other listens, pauses, answers only what matters. Investors rarely remember every statistic. They remember emotional stability. Stability becomes competence. Competence becomes trust. The irony is brutal. People believe explanations create credibility. Excessive explanations often destroy it. The more desperately you chase understanding, the more uncertain you appear. The less you need approval, the more others begin offering it voluntarily. That contradiction explains why true authority always feels effortless from the outside. But recognizing the invisible contract is only the beginning. Breaking it requires surviving something far more uncomfortable than criticism itself.
Number 2. Why your brain confuses disagreement with danger. Your greatest enemy during conflict is rarely the person across from you. It is the ancient survival system inside your own skull. Thousands of years ago, exclusion from the tribe often meant death. Acceptance was survival. Rejection was catastrophe. Evolution never completely removed that wiring. It simply disguised it beneath modern life. Today, nobody is throwing you out into the wilderness because someone questioned your character during a meeting. Yet your nervous system reacts as though exile is moments away. This is why intelligent people suddenly become irrational when their reputation feels threatened. They interrupt. They over-explain. They confess details nobody requested. They keep talking long after their strongest point has already been made. Every additional sentence leaks confidence. Manipulative personalities understand this instinct instinctively. They know pressure creates disclosure. They provoke because emotional people reveal themselves faster than curious people discover them. Notice how skilled interviewers remain silent after asking difficult questions. That silence is not empty. It is productive discomfort. Most people cannot tolerate it. They rush to fill the space. They volunteer information they never intended to share. Police interrogators, corporate recruiters, political strategists, crisis negotiators. They all understand the same psychological law. Silence invites exposure. The person who fears silence usually exposes themselves first. Imagine someone publicly says your presentation was disappointing. Your instincts demand immediate defense. But pause for a moment. Observe the room instead of your own panic. People are not only watching the accusation, they are studying your response. If your emotional state collapses, the accusation appears more believable, regardless of whether it is true. Calmness changes interpretation before facts ever arrive. This is why composure becomes a strategic asset rather than merely a personality trait. The strongest frame is not built by proving everyone wrong. It is built by demonstrating that your identity remains untouched, whether they approve or not. Once you understand this, every conflict transforms into something entirely different. The real battle is no longer between you and them. It becomes a battle between your need for validation and your ability to remain psychologically sovereign. And that is where true power finally begins. Number 3. Silence is not empty. It is psychological gravity. Most people think silence means weakness because they confuse stillness with surrender. They have been conditioned to believe every attack deserves an immediate response. Every accusation demands an explanation. Every misunderstanding must be repaired before it grows. But silence does something words rarely can. It interrupts expectation. And the human mind hates interrupted expectations. Picture a boardroom. A senior executive publicly questions your judgment. Everyone waits for your defense. Instead, you look at them, calmly. You let the room breathe. Not because you have nothing to say, because you refuse to let urgency become your master. In that pause, something unexpected happens. The attention shifts. Moments ago, the room was evaluating your decision. Now it begins evaluating the person who created the confrontation. People start asking silent questions. Why is he pushing so hard? Why is she so emotional? Why doesn't this accusation seem to affect the target? Your silence becomes a mirror. Whatever emotional energy they projected begins reflecting back toward its source. Most aggressive people are comfortable throwing pressure. Very few are comfortable carrying it. Without realizing it, they begin explaining themselves. They soften their tone. They add qualifiers. They retreat from certainty. They search for reassurance that you are still playing the emotional game. But you never entered it. That is why silence feels so unsettling. It removes the script everyone unconsciously expects. It creates psychological gravity. Others begin orbiting your composure because uncertainty demands resolution. This does not mean remaining silent forever. It means speaking only after emotion has stopped choosing your words. Timing creates authority. A delayed sentence often carries more weight than 20 immediate ones. Ancient rulers understood this instinctively. They allowed courtiers to exhaust themselves before making a single observation. Judges do not compete with lawyers for speaking time. They wait. Then they define reality with one measured statement. That is status expressed through restraint. The paradox is striking. People believe talking demonstrates confidence, yet confidence often reveals itself through the ability to leave silence untouched. Every unnecessary word spends authority. Every intentional pause earns interest. Once you discover that silence can redirect attention without force, you stop chasing control through explanation. You begin attracting it through presence alone. But silence is only the first layer of mastery. Eventually, there comes a moment when words become necessary. And that is where most people unknowingly surrender everything they have just gained. Number 4. Never fight the label. Rewrite the frame. An accusation is rarely designed to describe reality. It is designed to trap you inside someone else's interpretation of reality. Labels are powerful because they simplify complex human beings into convenient stories. Arrogant, selfish, difficult, cold, lazy. Once you begin arguing against the label, you have already accepted its importance. You are fighting inside a prison someone else constructed. The truly dangerous move is different. You refuse to decorate their prison. You walk outside it. Imagine someone says you are impossible to work with. Most people instantly produce evidence of teamwork. They list projects. They mention favors. They defend a version of themselves they desperately hope survives the conversation. But notice what happened. The accusation now controls the discussion. Your identity revolves around disproving their narrative. Real authority never accepts that arrangement. Instead, it shifts attention toward the mechanism rather than the label itself. Calmly ask what experience led you to that conclusion. Or quietly observe that strong opinions often reveal strong expectations. Suddenly, the conversation changes direction. Instead of your identity being examined, the interpretation itself becomes visible. You are no longer trapped inside the accusation. You are observing it from above. Consider modern politics. The most influential communicators rarely spend all their energy denying every criticism. They introduce a larger narrative that makes the criticism appear smaller. Business leaders do the same during crises. Elite negotiators do the same under pressure. They understand a simple principle. Whoever defines the frame determines the meaning of every fact inside it. Facts without context rarely persuade. Context quietly commands facts. This is why emotionally reactive people lose debates even when they possess stronger evidence. They answer questions that should never have defined the conversation in the first place. Power belongs to the person deciding which question deserves attention. Once you realize labels are invitations rather than obligations, something changes inside you. You stop treating every opinion as a verdict. You begin seeing it as information about the speaker. Their words reveal priorities. Their assumptions reveal fears. Their emotional intensity reveals investments. Instead of defending your character, you start studying theirs. And that shift transforms conflict into observation. Observation into leverage. Leverage into freedom. Yet the deepest transformation still waits beyond strategy. Because the strongest people are not protected by techniques. They are protected by something far more difficult to build. An identity that no longer depends on being believed.